Hey everybody, so today I want to talk about my secret to better fundraising for your startup nonprofit. Let's talk about it. Hey everybody, Tiffany here. I am with Boston a Budget. I help new and small nonprofits get up and running. Today we're going to talk about how we can fundraise better. So today I'm going to talk about my secret to better fundraising. It's called the please rule. It's something that I completely made up, but it's a great strategy to help keep you focused when you're fundraising. Now, after you watch this video, if you see somebody else talking about the please rule, you know they got it from me because I made this up and I didn't get it from anywhere. So if you see the please rule anywhere, let me know because that means someone took it. But before we talk about and break it down, let's talk about what fundraising is and what it isn't. So if you look up the definition of fundraising online, a lot of the definitions that you'll see are simply it's a way to make money to support your nonprofit's operations, right? But I challenge that definition. I think it's more than that. Fundraising really is about making and keeping or nurturing the right relationships that will provide long-term support for your nonprofit's operations. So that may include a bunch of different methods of doing that, but it really is about making key relationships so that you are a stronger nonprofit and you can have the money you need to support your operation. So that may be through grants, it may be through earning money, through product sales, or providing a service, whatever it really is about keeping the right relationships for ongoing support. So what do I mean by that? That's where we get the please rule. And this is the secret to being way more effective and efficient with making money for your organization. So let's start with P. P stands for plan. If you want to do any kind of fundraising, you must have a plan in place for how you're going to approach that fundraising. So first of all, you have to have an identified goal. You need to know how much money you're trying to raise at an organizational level and also at an individual method level. So if you want to have an event, you need to know how much money you're trying to raise from that event. As a part of that planning, you should have some kind of case statement in place. So what is it that your organization is trying to impact, or what is the narrative that you want to put out there about why your organization is needed? Because that's what's going to fuel your communications, your marketing, all of that, to convince people that you're a worthy enough cause to support. So you need to have a case statement in place which identifies why you're important, what gaps you feel in your community, and why you're such a unique asset in your community. Part of that also is having a budget. That is such a struggle for small nonprofits, but you have to really think about what does it take to get the work done? You don't know how many people I've talked to when I've asked them, well, how much are you trying to raise? Or how much do you need to cover? And I get crickets. So it's really important for you to know how much money you're even trying to raise and what it takes for your organization to run. Because what if someone came to you and said, I have money to spend, how much do you need? What are you going to say? You don't know because you don't have a budget in place. So part of your planning is about having a budget. And then the last piece of the planning really is about having objectives or strategies in place in that plan so you can have a committee or a group of people who are committed to executing that plan. So if you as a founder have everything up here in your head and it's not on paper and no one understands how you want to go about reaching your goals, it's not going to be effective. It's not going to work. So it's important to have an actual plan with actual strategies and objectives so that a group of people can take that forward and really make it work. So make sure you have all the planning pieces in place before you try to go out there and start doing a lot of fundraising. The second piece is about learning your audience. So it's really important to know who you're trying to get money from or whose support you're trying to get, because how you approach them and your method may need to shift based on who they are. Perfect example. You may have heard of a fundraising strategy called direct mail. It's a really old school method of using postal mail to send appeals to people through their mailbox, right? So you probably have seen letters from like St. Jude where they have like this letter and they send you mailing labels as a gift, and they want you to send a check in or go to their website and donate as a result of getting this appeal. That is direct mail. That is so old school. It's still effective for a lot of organizations, but it really appeals to a certain demographic. Can you guess which demographic it appeals to? Probably people who are older, maybe 60s or 70s and up, but it wouldn't necessarily appeal to 20-year-olds who barely have mailing addresses themselves or barely even use postal mail. So part of that is really understanding who you're trying to appeal to so you can understand the best method for getting the message to them. The other piece to this is you can't have a real relationship with a person without knowing who they are, knowing what their likes and their interests are, or things they're not interested in. So, part of building the right relationship to get donors or supporters or people to give you money is learning who they are. Where do they go? Who are their friends? Who's in their network? What are they interested in? Because when you take a genuine interest in people, they begin to trust you. And people give to things and people that they trust. But if you're just coming out the blue, this person doesn't know you, and you're expecting money to just flow just from you just reaching out to them maybe one time, and you're not nurturing a relationship and building up to that, then it's less likely that you're going to be effective. So make sure you take the time to learn and grow with whoever you're trying to target so they can begin to trust you and feel comfortable giving to you. The next piece of this is E, engaging your audience, engaging your potential supporters. So you can do engagement at any point that you're trying to reach out to somebody. You can do it before they give you money, and you can do it after they give you money. It's important to do it before because that means you're warming them up to you. At the same time that you're learning them, right? You also are warming them up to trust you. So how do you do that? You do that through engagement. Engagement means ways you're reaching out to them, ways you're meeting them where they are so they can feel comfortable with you. So that may mean you're inviting them out for events, or you're asking them to volunteer or asking them to participate. Maybe you have like an informational event about a topic that they may be interested in, and that's the way you meet them. And maybe you get their email address and you start sending them newsletters to tell them about what you're doing. Maybe you're a startup and you have a compelling story and you're inviting people to hear about your story. So you're sending them messages or you're updating through social media about what you're doing. That's engagement. That's bringing people in so they become intrigued and interested. And even after they give, what are you doing after that? Because this is not about you getting what you want and then going off into your nonprofit world doing what you need to do. It's about including them and making them feel like they're a part of a community. So what are you doing after they give? Are you asking their advice about what do you think about this new service that we're trying to do? Are you sending letters to them, letting them know how their money was spent? People want to feel like they're giving to something. They're not just giving to a black hole. They're giving to help someone. They're giving to better someone's life or better some kind of cause. People give because it makes them feel good about themselves. And they want to know that they did some good, even if it was just giving a check. They want to know that they had a part in changing something or changing someone's life. So let them feel that, because when they feel that, then they're more compelled to give. They're more compelled to give you support. They're more compelled to talk about your organization to other people. It's a two-way street. So make sure you are engaging them and learning them and building great relationships with them so they can continue to support you long term. The A in please is all about asking. So I would never recommend that the first engagement or the first contact that you have with somebody is to ask them for money. That just feels icky, right? So have you ever seen people kind of like standing outside of the grocery store saying, "Hey, would you like to donate for this, this, and this?" How does that make you feel? I don't know about you, but for me personally, I don't know who you are. I don't know if you're a real organization. I don't know what you do. Why would I just randomly give you money? And hey, maybe I'll give you $1 or $2, but you will be way more effective and get more money if you warm people up before you ask them for money. So all of this is kind of building up, right? You warm up an audience, you get them comfortable with you get them to trust you, then you ask for money. So don't just go out and your only intention is I'm just trying to get money from this person so I can go off and do what I need to do. Make sure you build up to an ask and don't just automatically, shoot your shot and just automatically go for, hey, got money I can use? But the other piece of this is don't forget to ask. Sometimes when you're sitting down with a potential donor and you know they may be able to support you and provide money, and you're nervous and you're kind of beating around the bush and you don't want to directly ask, don't be afraid to be direct and say, we need money for such and such. Can you help? Can you support? Can you invest in this program? Don't be afraid to ask, okay? And it's scary. Sometimes you're going to ask, and what you're going to need to do is just be silent and wait for that person to let you know whether or not they're ready. But it won't happen. It won't come to fruition unless you actually ask. So don't be afraid to be direct. Don't be afraid to ask. Like, you have to meet people halfway. Once they know what you need, then they can come in and say, okay, well, I can do this for you. The S in Please is all about saying thank you. So this is so overlooked. And I think it's because a lot of nonprofits are just stretched and they may not see it as a priority or as important. And as far as they're concerned, if they got the money, they're in a good place. So they just need to focus on what they need to do with the money they got in. But it's really important to say thank you, okay? Just to be kind, just to be polite and not be tacky. When someone gives you something or provides a service for you or donates or volunteers, it's really important for you to say thank you, that every little bit matters, that counts for us. So you can say thank you in a variety of ways. You can send them handwritten thank you cards or a letter with a signature from someone on your board or maybe your executive director. You can have your program participants actually create something where they say thank you. You can reach out to them and call them directly. Maybe you can send an email. But the more personal, the better. So people, again, feel like they're a part of a community, feel like they're appreciated, and they feel like, oh, my money actually went somewhere because they followed up and they actually said thank you. This also applies to grants. Once you get grant money, don't be afraid to say thank you to the funder who gave you money. Don't forget to send an email or to, if you're allowed, to put out a public post on social media saying thank you for your support. There are many different ways you can say thank you. And this is the opportunity that you can be creative and show people, hey, we really appreciate the support you're giving us. And that just goes a step further in making real relationships and continuing a conversation. Because what you want to do is once one person gives to you, you want to continue the conversation. You want to keep them engaged. You want to keep them talking, keep them interested in what you're doing. And one of the best ways to do that right after they give is to say thank you. All right. The last piece is E, evaluate your efforts. That means you should pay attention to the impact of the work you're doing. So one way this plays out is, for example, with events. So a lot of times people put a lot of effort and actually money into throwing events. But sometimes events can be like a huge time suck. They can be a huge money suck. So a lot of times you'll see people who put in like $15,000 for an event and they get $5,000 back, right? But it can be intimidating looking at the raw numbers to understand what really was the impact of all the work that you did. But it's important to look at that because you need to evaluate as an organization whether or not you should be spending your time that way. If something takes up a lot of time or a lot of money and it's not giving you the return that you need, you really should think about whether or not that's the best place to spend your time. And the only way you can do that is if you are diligent about collecting data, collecting information about number of hours or number of people who work on a project, collecting information about how much money you spent on a particular event or a particular method of fundraising. It's important for you to track that information because on a regular basis, you should know what works and what doesn't work. And you will be way more effective and efficient if you can respond right away and say, you know what, that's not working for us. We need to pivot and do something else. And it's not to say that just because you're not making enough money, you should completely abandon what you're doing. But what it does say is that you should take a hard look at it and reevaluate and maybe tweak some things to make it more effective. But even if you tweak and it's not effective, then it may be time to look at doing something else or doing something a different way. So make sure you always pay attention and monitor and evaluate your fundraising efforts. Okay, so now you have the secret. Now you have the secret sauce to being more effective at fundraising. I need you to go out there and I need you to go and kill it. I need you to make an impact. I need you to do the work to bring in the resources you need for your organization. And as always, if you want to ask me a question or if you need advice, you can see me at www.bossonabudget.com, and I'll see you in the next video.